So artificial intelligence is in the transition of uh, powering every aspect of our life. So in couple of years down the lane, we will not be able to have a life where AI would not be part of it, top till bottom, that we will not imagine having a life without artificial intelligence. So this becomes challenging in one way and also easy in the other way.
Hi everyone, welcome back to our podcast. I'm your host Anmol Irfan, and today we're going to be talking about a topic that all of us have been wildly obsessed with, at least for the last couple of years: artificial intelligence, or AI as we like to call it. And to discuss that, we have with us here today Dr. Mehreen Alam, who is a researcher and academic in computer science. She also started her entrepreneurial journey through Urdu X, a cross-cultural research lab through which she aims to work on democratizing AI. So whether it's entering your house using facial recognition or predicting a disease you might get in 5 years, she believes AI can be used to address life's daily challenges. Dr. Alam, thank you so much for being here with us today. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much, Anmol. I'm so happy to be part of your podcast journey and making an impact through this channel.
It's so lovely to have you, because when I pitched the idea of a podcast to my team around intentional living, of course, one of the first things that we think about maybe is art or, talking to mental health experts. But what I found really interesting about speaking to you is about how we can look at the impact of tech within this area. And so to start off, the first thing that I think all of us would like to know is what gets you out of bed in the morning.
I think it's a phase, or it's a thing that everybody goes through every day, and you have to get out of the bed, but everybody might have different reasons, but for me, particularly in the point of time that I am in my life, I feel that it is the drive or passion to do my part in the life that I have. That is what makes me start my day, and this is the drive and the passion that I carry throughout the day. Whatever I do, whatever I start, it needs to have a positive impact. So whatever time I have in my life, and we all know that our lives are limited, we never know when they're going to end. So the best possible time utilization that can be done, whatever efforts that I can do, and whatever is my potential that I can actually channelize into spreading good, doing good by using various tasks and activity.
I think that's a very noble cause to fight for, and to make that your motivation. But I'm sure it's not easy, especially in the tech field where it's moving so fast and there's so much going on. What's the hardest thing about being a woman in tech right now?
I think tech is for now, it's like AI is a buzzword, so tech is also a buzzword. So we have tech in medicine, we have tech in legal justice, we have tech in education. So wherever we have tech in cars, mobility. So tech is basically is a new life that we all are living. So I always give the analogy of the electricity that we have. So for now, people who are using electricity, like we all are, and I'm sure there's a big percentage of human population that is not using electricity, even in times of today. They don't have access to electricity, even in Pakistan as well. So you can see the divide between the people who have it and they don't. So, and just imagine the people who are using electricity, how much electricity is very much part of their lives. We can't even live without electricity for even a minute. So I always give analogy of the artificial intelligence to the electricity of yesterday. So artificial intelligence is in the transition of powering every aspect of our life. So in couple of years down the lane, we will not be able to have a life where AI would not be part of it. Even now it is, but then it will become so ingrained in our daily lives, top till bottom, that we will not imagine having a life without artificial intelligence. So this is for sure that tech / AI and all its related advancements are very much need of the day, and they are our future as well. As a woman, I must say that if I just speak as a person, every person in tech or in times of today, because we are all going through that rapid transformation of innovations. So everybody is trying to keep up with the pace of the innovation that is happening. And since women overall, they are underrepresented, especially in the leadership position. That's a global issue that I'm talking about. So this becomes challenging in one way, and also easy in the other way. So challenging because you see very few women role models. Challenging because whenever you sit in a room, or I go for a panel discussion, or or the team that I'm having in my Urdu X, and as a professor, when I look at my class, I see particular gender dominating, and female women, they are, generally speaking, they are in a minority. So numbers, they do matter. And when the numbers are less, then probably the confidence level and probably the comfort of being in the environment and growth and approach, they are all probably affected as well. However, if I speak about the ease, I must say, since there are few women, so it's also perhaps it's easier to get opportunities, because there are certain opportunities specifically mentioned for women, or people promote women because they feel that they need to be given some support, so that whatever is holding them back at the societal level or at the cultural level, probably they need to be given a little push, so they get a little bit of advantage there as well. Overall, I feel that since it's a system where everybody is struggling, I feel there's not much of a challenge that I feel as a woman. It's a challenge everybody feels, especially if you are in tech, because you're at the front line of seeing those challenges. So everybody's seeing that rapid disruption of life, technology, pushing the boundaries. Every day there's a new GPT model. So I feel everybody is struggling to keep up with the pace of the innovation. As a woman, overall, if I remove myself from the tech, then women overall, generally speaking, they have that glass ceiling, they have some imposter syndromes. So these are some of the issues that, as women, and I'm also a woman, so we have that in us. So there's certain things that are holding us back, and we are the reason is us. And then there are certain reasons that the culture is not supporting us, or there's conscious or unconscious bias at homes, at workplaces, that just not let us free ourselves to think freely and to go about grabbing opportunities, especially coming to the leadership position. So in tech as well, I feel at the entry level, I feel there's this gender, women, they are lesser in number, and not just in number, but also the impact that they make. Somehow they are not. That's my observation. I feel that the impact and the quality of work and the scale of work that they do, that is not as much of impact creating as probably the other gender does. Then as I speak about going up the ladder, I see very, very few women, they actually think of leading a company. starting a company, taking the pain of being the head of the thing, because then you have to totally change the way of your life. So when you're sleeping, you have so many things in mind, because you're the owner of your thing, right? So you are the one who has to stay motivated, so your team stays motivated. You are the one who has to be in touch with the latest ideas, so you put those ideas into practical applications or real life use cases, and then you pass on those onto your teams, and then actually your clients, and to the regular people. So it's that push and that passion that has to be there. And as women, especially women who have their household responsibilities and their family responsibilities, then there's a lot of overlap. So there's a struggle that, probably there's, your family needs more time, and then sometimes there's a guilt you didn't give them time, and if you don't give your profession time, then that suffers. So it's quite challenging in that sense, that how do you keep a balance of having good, responsibilities, execution of responsibilities at the family level, and also keeping that same spirits and passion and drive for your profession. So Anmol, I would want to answer that while people talk about work-life harmony, work-life balance, I have taken this entrepreneurial journey of mine as a life. So but ever since COVID came, there was a transition of having remote jobs or hybrid work culture. That really helped me in putting a balance, or being more available to my family than it was if I just had to be on site for longer hours. So the way we operate, and that's facilitating for women as well as men. The way we operate, and I feel a lot of people who are thriving and are progressing, they're also operating by keeping the well-being of the employee and the employers at the same time. So we do some task-based things, and then we are free for some time. So it's a loose kind of deadline-oriented work that we do, where the people who are part of my thing are not overburdened, and they are done with their task, and they are free to go around, have some fresh air, get their mind refreshed, and come back with fully energized doing the next thing. Same thing that I do for myself, I also make sure that I do it for the people in my profession, and I also translate it at my family as well. So I feel those tricks or those lessons learned, if applied in the right way at both the places, they definitely lead to good harmony at your work and your family, for your work and family balance.
Yeah, I think you really touched upon some very important points there, especially with remote culture facilitating people to have a much healthier work-life balance. And I think a lot of people around the world have been agreeing to this, even people not in the tech space. So just the idea of, being able to, even for fathers, I think, to be able to spend more time with their kids, because there's no longer this pressure to be at office 9 to 5. And for parents to have joint responsibilities, or like you said, for people to be able to do other things at home while still making sure that their career is prioritized. But on the other end of it, if we look at the people being impacted by tech or AI, how can we as everyday users or everyday consumers use tech to further more social justice causes, or to increase the social impact that tech can have in making the world a better place?
Anmol, I think the underlying principle I feel for humans should be as an individuals. Like I started my conversation with you, it has to be doing good, right? But this is not how it is. Mm-hmm. So the presence or the need for justice, for law to be implemented, prevalent, is a must. I feel one of the major aspects of a happy community or a happy family or a happy nation is when the justice prevails. So for that, I feel it's very important that we let go of, at least in the area that we are in, we let go of the old ways of providing or talking about justice. The first step is that you create awareness. There was a time when people used to run campaigns on TV, educating them about their rights. But how much can you? How long a campaign could be? How much information can you pass on? Right? And then if you do it by those traditional electronic, those newspapers or the electronic media, then probably it comes on a particular time, and then the readability, accessibility. So the first step that I feel for having justice, using tech, for having social justice, for having a society where the law prevails, is by democratizing access to AI and using the AI to democratize access to the information related to your rights. So I have a product that I've created, keeping in line with the injustice that happened in the society, and it was targeted on the domestic violence. So I could not go and knock at every household in Pakistan or in the world and tell them these are your rights. That's what you need to know. If something like this happened, if you're going through this, tell me what you're going through. I'll tell you what to do. This is something that I can't do. Yeah. So what I thought was, why not make a chatbot that is accessible to everybody? So it's available on a website. You simply go, you don't have to put in your details. Your anonymity remains intact. If you're going, because the trouble with domestic violence is that it happens in the premises of your house. That's the worst thing. If something is like, we don't go on the streets at particular times and we feel safe in our homes. The trouble with that part of the law or justice is that is happening inside your houses. So where do you go? So, and who do you speak to? Because if you need relatives or your intimate partner or your father or your elder sister or your aunt is doing all this, or maybe your caregiver, or maybe your staff member. So how do you go about handling all that? You can't actually go to the police. If you go to the police, then after doing the complaint, where will you go? So I thought the best way of doing this was that you give access to everybody about the awareness of their rights. So it's not a one-way thing that we've made. You put your use case in that I am being, for example, beaten by my intimate partner. Just tell me what to do. So our chatbot will understand, may ask you further questions, and will guide you. If it's a start, then it has been trained so that it counsels you to go for certain measures like speaking to the partner or having the family involved. But if the chatbot, after your conversation, realizes that it is beyond the time, all of these things cannot be done, it's about reporting to the police or it's about taking a legal action, then it also guides you on how to go about having a safe exit plan and how to take it to the police or take a legal form. So that is something that we did. It is not only awareness, Anmol, it is actually helping people save their lives. And by empowering people using AI to empower people so that they can understand what they're going through and also let them have steps so that they actually exit that place, and also give them support of how they can, once they exit, how can they actually come back to their regular life. So it need not be like you mentioned in the beginning, it need not be a reactive approach. For example, it is so much ingrained as a society, or I don't know, as humans, that one of the partners, I'm talking about, partners, one of the partners might be very controlling. And generally in Pakistan, it's particular one gender which is more controlling and is dominating. So if we proactively create that awareness, give that awareness to everybody who's about to enter into a relationship, how unconsciously, how they cannot be abusive, how they cannot be controlling. Because by controlling, it's not like you're ruining other person's life, you're actually ruining a family.
Yeah.
So you're ruining your own life as well. So how not to be abusive? So our chatbot is also proactive, and it's also empowering people to actually broaden their minds. Just by not controlling your wife doesn't mean you're weak. It's just the mindset that you need to get over with. So she or he is a human being. They need to be respected. They need to be loved. They need to be taken care of. And it's no harm in getting understanding or sharing responsibilities or sharing your things and not to cross the line. I think that's important. So I was very happy when I was working with my team. Like I mentioned, they are heavily dominated by one gender. Yeah. And we went through and we were training and we were asking the questions to the chatbot. I was so happy that they also got to see things from a perspective that they had never thought about, because it's a norm that father will shout and the mother will she will listen, and sometimes he will slap, and that's fine. But then I could see that transition. I was so happy, and it was so satisfying for me. If 4 or 5 people can have their views changed, why not the whole society? So this is just one example more that I've given. And then we are also overall as well, people are using tech to use laws, democratize access to laws, to justice, reaching the help, and also going for their mental health rehabilitation. So these are all things. The best thing about these is, Anmol, that your identity remains anonymous. So if I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to you. But when you speak to our chatbot, or any chatbot for that matter, then the chatbot doesn't judge you. So you can tell everything about yourself to the chatbot, and then they will not get back on you. Oh, we saw you there. You spoke to me about that. So there's no fear of judgment by these technologies. They're totally anonymous, and they keep your information confidential, right? And they keep your information private as well. So even your intimate partners or your mothers, they will not even know if you don't want to disclose that thing to anybody. So if we just increase this impact at the national level, global level, we take that these sort of laws, whether that's let's say criminal law, that's corporate law, there are many ventures who are handling this aspect as well. And I feel that every person in the world is going to be empowered to know about at least the basic things about what they're going through, how to go about it. You don't really have to go to a lawyer or to an expert and pay heavy fees, or even and then without getting people to know that you're actually doing this. That can all be done with the comfort of your home or the space that you are in.
I think it's so interesting that you've been using tech to address both sides of the issue, because that's not something we hear in our society at all. And like you said, it can be used for so many other things and impact in so many ways. So just to wrap up, if you had any advice for young people in tech to really be intentional about the impact that they're creating, what would that advice be?
I think, Anmol, I think I'm heavily centered towards, as you might have noticed as well, having a mission, having a drive, having a passion. Mm-hmm. feel everybody, regardless of whether you're young. Age is just something that is in our mind. Definitely, it impacts the pace of the work and the way we learn and all. But doing good, having passion, needs no age, needs no specific field to be in, right? So every young person, every old person, every human being in the world who has the power to think, who is the power to make a change, I advise everybody to start every day by making a good impact in the world. It can be as small as starting with people right next to you, and it could be as small as, like, Anmol, you reached out to me, we've never met before, I don't know where you located, so we're doing a remote podcast at the moment. So my intention is to pass on all the good concepts that I have, or the experiences that I have, or probably just energy. I just want to pass that on to everybody who will be listening to me. So first, I will advise everybody to be mission oriented, to have some passion for something. It could be doing good, for example. And then to do good, you find your way. If you're a doctor, then the do good could be making a, first hand, doing your job with the intent of not with the intent of making money, but with the intent of making a difference in other person's life. You're doing the same thing, but the intent can make a huge difference in the way you do it. Similarly for tech, when you do anything in tech, you always keep mind of the social good that you're going to do. That's going to be rewarding in many ways, not just in the financial way, but it's also going to be satisfying you as a personality, as a person as well. Because like I mentioned in Mole before, that we all are here for a limited time and we don't know when our time ends. So the best thing that we can do to ourselves is make good use of our time, because we leave everything behind here. So the good that we leave, that will stay with us, and the bad that we leave, that will also, stay with our name. So why not leave this world with any good that we can do? So that's my 2 cents for the younger generation, for any person listening, whether that's tech or that's any field, or even just a homemaker.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great piece of advice to leave our listeners with. And so, Dr. Alam, thank you so much for being here today. For everyone who's tuned in, thank you for tuning in again. And we're going to keep you updated with more interesting guests and interesting topics for you to ponder over, and for you to really think about where you want your intentions to be, like Dr. Alam said. So, Dr. Alam, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much, Anmol. It was, first of all, I must congratulate you for taking this initiative. It's a wonderful topic that you've touched upon. And thank you so much for having me over. I really enjoyed speaking about democratizing of AI for social good for people at the global level. Thank you so much, Anmol.